the status of all the vaccines as it stands today. Gerald Commissiong, he is the CEO of Todos Medical. Welcome back to BNC Live, Gerald. It's always a pleasure to have you. All right, so the FDA panel. You're so welcome. The FDA panel unanimously recommended Pfizer's vaccine for that age group, again, 5 to 11. Can you just talk about, is this a game changer and what it means in the fight to end this pandemic?
Well, certainly the approval of the first set of vaccines for this age population is absolutely a game changer. The uptake is going to be interesting to see how it progresses. The data so far is obviously not significant in terms of numbers. We all know that it was likely there was challenges recruiting for the study because of hesitancy. But I think on balance, the ability to vaccinate children is important, especially for those who are immune compromised or may find out that they're immune compromised because their parents have genetic immune problems. And that's really the bigger issue with the younger kids. They're not old enough yet to figure out who might be immune compromised, who might really be at risk. And so I think, those parents who have those problems, they're probably going to be the first ones in line to get their kids vaccinated because that's the highest potential that those genetics have been passed on. And I think over time, as we get more information about the safety, then I could see uptake picking up.
All right, Gerald, you said to see how it progresses. Are you referencing access?
No, I don't think access is necessarily going to be a problem here. I do know that they've put, different packaging, for example. They've got orange packaging to really distinguish the dosing levels for children versus the adults. I think the bigger issue is going to be hesitancy. We do know, that adults, the vaccines seem to be safe in the, the year or so that the data has been out with adults, and we aren't seeing yet any significant long-term impacts, and that's obviously very good news. We don't really have any significant long-term data for kids in this population. I think that's what you heard from the parent that was just on before. They're not quite certain, and so they'll take the risk. They're not quite sure if their kids will take the risk. As time goes on, just like it happened with the initial vaccine, there was hesitancy as people saw uptake and no significant risks really coming out that we didn't know before. Uptake improved, and then it reached a plateau. And I would expect it's going to be the same here, and I would expect that the plateau will be lower than in adults for exactly the reason that the gentleman before stated. But over time, as more vaccines come online, as more conventional vaccines come online, I do think that you will see greater uptake in kids because it is very important to get this population protected.
All right, 20 million kids eligible for that shot, but a Kaiser family study saying about a third of those parents are saying, I'm going to wait and see exactly how this vaccine works on other children. So what are you telling your families in terms of getting them to get vaccinated and roll up their sleeves?
So I've been vaccinated. Obviously, my wife has been vaccinated. In terms of our kids, it has been a slower process for exactly what's been outlined. We've looked at what's been going on elsewhere in the world because, if you look at what's going on in the UK, for example, they're giving one dose, not two doses. And you have to look at some of that information and make an informed decision. Certainly, the data that's been presented with the lower dose certainly shows no significant adverse events. I think the biggest part of the data is we did not see any myocarditis with that lower dose. And that is very reassuring, to parents who have kids. With that being said, you look at the 12 to 15-year-olds and they have the highest risk of myocarditis and they're getting the adult dose. So, one does have to question the dosing there. And so I think some of those issues just in general of the vaccine development, as well as the spacing between the doses, we've seen elsewhere, 8 to 12 weeks of spacing between dose 1 and dose 2 of mRNA vaccines actually produces a much better immune response. Yet here in the US, we're still doing 3 weeks.
Hey, Gerald, I'm sorry. I just want to get in and ask you one really quick question. You mentioned the myocarditis not being in this group of children 5 to 11, that trial. Do you think that is the case because perhaps there weren't a lot of minorities that participated? I know we had this conversation before about the lack of minorities enrolling in these trials.
That's very possible. When you look at the makeup of heart disease and the makeup, the body composition, et cetera, due to food intake, Certainly, we know that certain populations have higher risk of heart disease. And if you don't study those populations, you won't know what the factors are that could increase that incidence. So that is a risk. What we can say is this is a much lower dose. And the Pfizer vaccine in general appears to be much less powerful than the Moderna vaccine. So you're getting a much lower dose of a much less powerful vaccine. And those combinations together are likely to lead to fewer adverse events. And that's what's been borne out in the adult population. Many fewer adverse events with Pfizer than with Moderna. By the same token, you see that Pfizer wanes a lot faster. And so, now they're already talking about a third shot and a fourth shot for immunocompromised.
Yeah, well, it's by the day, new developments. Gerald, thank you for joining us, sir.
Absolutely.
All right, and it seems, as Gerald just mentioned, regular vaccine shots may be in our future. The CDC now says certain people who are immunocompromised may need a fourth dose of Pfizer or Moderna. Those people can get that fourth shot at least 6 months after receiving their third. Research showed that a booster does enhance antibody response to the vaccine in certain immunocompromised folks. Up next on BNC Live, another day, another water crisis, this time, still in Michigan. We're live from the latest location battling contamination of drinking water there. When BNC Live returns, we'll have a live report.
Closed captioning brought to you by Nutrisystem. Lose weight and get healthy with meals delivered to your door.
Introducing the all-new Nutrisystem.
Now with a breakthrough drink mix